You're listening to the All Night Society, an actual play podcast brought to you by Queen's Court Games. Oh, what a night it shall be, as 100 of the city's best dressed and most influential souls ascend the staircase in front of the Beaux Arts Palace of Artistic Endeavor, known as the Art Institute of Chicago. As you begin your night, you will climb the stairwell past the two bronze lions representing the spirit of the arts, cross in through a lobby that is not guarded, not well attended. You need no special tickets to enter, and then proceed into what is simultaneously the safest and most dangerous of occasions for Camarilla Kindred. Tonight is Elysium. You have been given advance notice by the prince of what will occur tonight. Of course, there's a big set of political revelations that will be set loose upon the city. But before that, of course, there's a normal amount of mingling, and, specific to this coterie, a few specific meetings that need to be taken. It is entirely possible that before the sun next rises, Alex and Anastasia will no longer be with us. It falls, of course, upon the prince to decide their fates, and likable though they may be, each new kindred allowed to walk the city represents a risk. And that's before we consider their unique additional baggage. But let's not let that get in the way of a good time. Of course, previous to Elysium, there are always two important questions. It's a bit of a red carpet vibe. So I'll begin tonight. My Legacy, what are we wearing?
As always, I understand the need to dress to impress, seeing as, technically, this is also my first Elysium. Just like the babies.
That's right. So we thinking floor length, designer?
I've always been a fan of Valentino, and I have a great floor length evening gown, white, obviously, in the back of a closet that's been gathering dust.
Do your fashion tastes get locked into time like some of your other behaviors? If you're embraced in the 80s, are you forever beholden to that style? Or do you get to evolve? It's not something I'm familiar with.
Aggressive? Are you waiting for a shoulder pad moment?
No, I don't know much about fashion or the 80s, but I'm fairly certain that the shoulder pads never made it into the formal wear section of that.
You'd be surprised. No, one of the things I thankfully left behind was some of the more heinous clothing choices of the time, but there's nothing wrong with a classic look.
Of course. Steering away from the classics, Miss LaRue, you don't strike me as an evening gown type, at least not since your mother was buying your clothes for you.
No, I should say not. Tonight, I am in a beautiful Alexander McQueen cocktail dress with sleeves that are designed to mimic a long flowing cape. There's a beautiful lapel detail. It's held with one button. There's a slit up the side. It is perfect when paired with a nice patent leather ankle boot. Black, of course.
It occurs to me that in addition to fulfilling the requirement of a safe meeting point for a predatory species, Elysium also lets everybody show off. And I wonder over time which of those things has taken precedent in different courts. Well, two people having thought a great deal about what they will wear, we turn to Alex now. It's a bit like first day of school. If I had to guess out the gate, I would say you picked what you wanted to wear, and then Mommy saw that and said no. Walk me through what happened.
Well, you're not wrong. I was able to piece together a very charming Ralph Lauren three-piece suit, a very ash gray on gray with a black tie, a little bit of a derby hat look going on, maybe like a English mobster. I thought it'd be nice to have that kind of power suit, that kind of confident vibe. But then I was told I looked like I would just be asking for pennies and more soup, and then I was told we would go in another direction.
What direction was that, Ivy?
I need him to look presentable and clean and chic and a nice, simple button down. We can pair it with a vest. It'll look really, really nice. I promise, Alex. Just trust me on this, okay?
Yeah, no, I totally trust you. Hey, if there's anyone who knows vampire party time, it's definitely you. So I will take your wisdom into account. Let's go.
Small, important question. Did you let him keep the pocket watch? Because he was really attached to the pocket watch.
It swings when you do this with your hand.
That right there is why no, he does not get to keep the pocket watch. If he could be trusted to keep the pocket watch in his pocket, maybe. But at this point, I can't trust that he will.
My apologies, Alex. Maybe next time.
Alex, can you tell time on an analog watch?
Yeah, okay, I went to public school. I know, the big hand is the minute and the short hand's the hour. It's very simple.
Okay. Just making sure.
And lastly, but certainly not leastly, someone who we all know does not have a closet full of evening gowns waiting to be perused. Anastasia, how sternly did you resist Maya's insistence that you dress up for the occasion? What are you wearing, and how awful does it feel to be wearing it?
I mean, I did my best. My very first idea was to wear exactly what I always wear, except my oversized hoodie was out of black sequin, so technically shiny. But Maya said I look like a trash bag. So I figured, since I didn't have anything, we went on a small shopping trip, and I literally chose the first thing I saw when we went to Saks, and it was a very structured Roberto Cavalli, Asian-inspired, like tea-pow top, but then it goes into like almost like this China type of design. It's got a lot of like print.
It seemed appropriate.
I kind of like that look on you. Yeah.
And in fairness, I said disco trash bag.
And mine is 80s, fine. 70s, whoa. Not in this house. Well then, there is valet available tonight. It is also, of course, acceptable to be arriving via chauffeured car. Ivy, your house, you obviously are the one who decides, so tell me.
When Elysium is at the Succubus Club, it's fine to valet. When it's at the Art Institute, though, something about hiring a limo and all of us getting out looking like we do, it just hits a little different.
We thinking black town car, we thinking SUV.
Oh, SUV, absolutely. The town car would be just a little too tight for the amount of money that Maya and I have spent on our dresses.
Fair enough. You don't want Alex to shift in his seat the wrong way and ruin $10,000 of fabric.
No, we don't.
Possibly $10,000. I have no concept of how much these things cost, but that's okay, because honestly, neither do either of you. You've passed the point in your own lives where money is an object. That you have in common with the 35 Chicago artists who founded the Art Institute in the late 1800s, even before they got all that railroad money pouring into the building. Of course, in modern years, it's more pharmaceuticals and finance that drive this institution. You get the whiff of that as you ascend towards the main entrance. Of course, in the car with a human driver, you can't do too much discussing that whole V word. We're not going to talk about this secret society you belong to in front of the kine. And once you've entered the building, it is of course too late. You can't give swimming lessons when you're already in the ocean surrounded by sharks. So you have 15, 20, 30 seconds at the most if you walk very slowly to give that last piece of advice. What is that last piece of advice?
The prince is going to do a lot of talking Alex, it is incredibly important that you pay attention to everything that he says and think very carefully about your answers. Do not say the first thing that comes to mind. Think about it just an extra second or two, okay?
Okay. I'm gonna think more, talk less. I can do that. I hope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hope you can, for your sake. Maya, are you in charge of Anastasia, or is this a situation where Ivy also gets to drip a little knowledge into a not fully developed mind?
To be honest, all I can think of goes for both of them. Anything you say or do tonight will be used against you, so keep that in mind as you interact.
Strange how many lessons can be transcribed directly from the Sabbat book into the Camarilla book. A certain survival instinct serves you well in both sects. Well then, on to the main floor we go, but not so long before a few of you are interrupted. Alex, of course, has his meeting later. Anastasia, I regret to inform you that your situation is a little more precarious, a little more urgent. So as you pass through the unattended booth, normally tickets being handed out, brochures handed over, Damien is waiting and 3 of you will be waylaid. There's something eminently casual about the way that he gets your attention. He's not dressed up the way Alex is. This is a baby chorus man in a rich white person's world. And there's something slightly irreverent about an old t-shirt and ratty jeans on the sheriff. Ivy and Maya, as you approach, he gets your attention with a single raised finger and a pointed stare.
Damien?
Ivy?
I just nod.
Is this the, He nods in Anna's direction.
Why couldn't I dress like that?
When you're sheriff, you can dress however you want. Yes, she is.
Okay. You understand that pending Jackson's decision, she won't be allowed to, live. So we're going to take care of this up front, yeah?
Sure.
Excellent. Follow me.
You didn't want to be dressed like a dinner plate.
I don't know why you couldn't have just gone with a single color like Maya and myself.
You picked this dress.
It was the first thing I saw.
You could have kept looking.
You said we were taking too long.
Pick faster then.
I fully believe that, and I start walking.
Oh, I presume this conversation is happening as you walk. The need for banter being what it is still subservient to the need to not irritate the sheriff of Chicago.
True.
So you depart the polished floors, Beau Arts, it really is a palace, and then you pass through one of the heavy-side maintenance doors, and now it's concrete block, fluorescent lighting, plain iron railings. Not a parking garage that you arrive in, definitely parking garage vibes. And there he is, wearing a vest but no jacket, standing in front of a mirror, making sure the knot on his tie is exactly as he desires. Prince Kevin Jackson. He does not turn to meet your gaze as you arrive, neither does Damien announce your presence. He can hear you coming, and he's the one who set the meeting, so he knows why you're here. We don't have that much time, so someone needs to start explaining.
I curtsy.
Phantom tension headache returns. Right on cue.
I thought that was what I was supposed to do.
It's fine. You're fine.
Ladies,
I grip my little clutch just a little tighter because, of course, it would fall yet again to me. We met Anastasia Khan very, very recently. She came to us and informed us that she was, in fact, the Childa of one Jason Newberry. Sir.
is that so?
That's what she believes.
I give a little side glance to Maya and then return to the prince. It is also correct, verified by use of blood magic.
Well, that's interesting. he begins as the knot has finally settled, and he turns to face you. Anna, you have seen visions of empire twinkling in the corner of Ivy's eyes. You have seen the need to dominate lurking behind Maya like a shadow. And both of those impressions are dwarfed by what radiates off of this man. Prince Kevin Jackson is a titan among vampires, and though he lacks the physical stature to back it up, of course, Alex is not taller, but definitely broader. You've seen more impressive physical specimens, but even in that scattered Malkavian mind of yours, there is a force coming off of the prince that cows the zaniest of your urges. And he stalks forward one measured step after another until he's close enough, were it the case that you needed to breathe, you might be able to feel the heat of breath. His eyes tracing across your cheeks, looking to your neck, measuring you up, not only physically, but the presence, as if it were possible for him perhaps to sniff out that air of Newberry about you.
I squeak out and speak very quickly. Hello, Mr. President Prince, sir. How are you today?
If I can be entirely honest, I've had better nights, Anastasia Khan. Because, and he steps back now regarding Ivy and Maya as well, I find myself in a predicament. I don't recall giving Jason Newberry permission to sire an Anastasia Khan. And even were that not the case, his recent legal situation complicates matters further. You feel small, Anna. There is no way to not feel small in front of this man. I don't know if you'll realize now that it's a result of vampiric power, or if it's just the weight of the social moment. But there is something very serious about this room. Ivy, Maya, whichever of you is peering over the shoulder at this point, will be able to lend credence to that thought, because Damien is around, yes. He's the sheriff. He can't be that far from the prince at Elysium, but that is not the face that will bring the terror of this moment fully to bear. That privilege belongs to Alexa Santos, who is lurking just out of frame, leaning against a wall at the end of the hallway. And there's only one reason the Scourge would need to be here.
I am just remembering what Maya told both me and Alex right before we entered, and I am keeping my mouth shut and just letting out little squeaks.
So you don't recall giving Newberry permission to create a Childa?
Indeed, no. Damien, I feel very strongly about my memory, but these things aren't beyond me. Is Miss Khan any legal embrace in my city? Damien shrugs. Seems to be. And you see the prince lean back. He's still standing so close to Anna, but feel the weight shift back onto his heels as he crosses his arms, and you can see the muscles underneath the shirt that he's wearing. And yet, the trespass against my authority is not foremost among my concerns. I presume you both know what Sierra Van Burris told me, and I presume you are the ones who told Sierra. So how about we turn to that for a moment?
My head turns as slow as it ever has, and I stare at Maya. I recognize that she is not making a move to return my gaze, but I hope she feels mine in this moment.
After a moment, I turn my head and smile beatifically back. Well, we didn't want you to be caught by surprise.
I appreciate that. Well, these allegations, of course, are most disturbing. Jason Newberry is a criminal. It would not look well upon my authority if the criminal could be conducting some kind of secret enterprise from his prison. Doubly so, because given my understanding of our condition, he shouldn't be able to think, let alone project that into this. That word hurts, Anna. Something about the way that he regards you. You understand you're not alive to him. You don't have the privilege of existence. He hasn't granted it to you yet. And until that decision is made, you're a creature, a mistake, something he can correct with the slash of a claw, or just a little bit of sunlight.
I'll be a double agent.
One heavy, solitary brow arching.
I know my dad super well. I know all of his operations. I'm his most trusted subject. I can tell you anything or be your eyes on the ground.
The prince looks over Anna's shoulder. I feel bad for the first one of you whose gaze he catches.
Isn't it a great thing that you found this key to such a strange mystery? Like Newberry having any influence while he's supposed to be staked? It's so great that you entrusted us with said key. Right?
I think that question hinges on another, if you'll indulge me. She's a fucking Malkavian. How do I know that what she's saying is true and not just, no offense, Miss Santos, the babbling of her curse? Then wouldn't it be prudent were you in my shoes, and pray you never are, for the burden of command does weigh heavily. Wouldn't it be more prudent for me to just dispatch of this creature who has no right to exist, to cut off whatever pipeline Newberry may or may not be using?
Yes, sir. That's well within your right. That's only your right, which is why we are here.
I don't need you to be a sycophant right now, Miss LaRue. Of course it's my right. I'm asking you whether or not it's a good idea. And I see the face you're making, Miss Lagasse. Do not pretend that only the Tremere will suffer for this.
Oh, I was just thinking about how, yeah, absolutely. Disposing of Anna would be a very quick way to solve, I guess, a problem, in the same way burning down a house will technically remove a spider.
Or a hotel, for that matter.
I have somehow managed to use the structure of my dress to turn into like a makeshift hoodie, and I'm like hiding my face in it like Kenny from South Park.
I have a long, long night ahead of me, so let's skip forward a bit, Let's presume that Sierra's recounting of Miss Lagasse's report is both complete and accurate, that I have been made aware of what you believe to be this Childa's gifts and the threat Jason Newberry may yet pose despite being staked and buried. Miss Khan, is this the truth? Is your sire speaking nonsense to you? Are there others you can find?
We speak sometimes. He comes to me in my dreams, and we spend time together. That's all I can say.
And when he comes to you in your dreams, what does he say? What does Jason want?
He wants to play a game.
I've known Jason Newberry long enough to know that that's never a good sign. I'm not interested. At this point, he's stepping back, referring to all three of you now. I'm not interested in trying to parse the meaning behind Malkavian ramblings, but for now, I choose to believe the three of you. Miss LaRue, you have plenty of things to already worry about. Miss Lagasse, you took initiative. Sierra Van Burris speaks highly of you. I am making this your problem. If you value your unlife and your presence in this city, you will not return to my presence until it is no longer a problem am I understood. You will also not let it become Damien or Miss Santos's problem. I'm not yet ready to give Anastasia the right to live in my city if something begins to smell untoward, if you get a whiff of Newberry undermining my judgment or my authority in this city. You have my permission to end her life.
Absolutely.
Then we're done here. I have a party to host, you have mingling and no doubt petty politics to engage in. Miss Santos, and they are walking, turning, on their way to greater things.
Thank you, Mr. Emperor, Leader, sir. Have a good night.
As Anastasia is saying her goodbyes, Ivy, you feel a pat on your shoulder. Damien's hand giving you a nice, hearty, good job. But in that sarcastic, happy for you, but what a mess kind of way. And it's not until he passes further that you see him extend his hand out, and it's just a big thumbs up as he turns the corner to follow his prince.
I just shake my head, slowly running through this entire conversation, and when I am certain that they are sufficiently out of earshot, I spin on the ball of my foot and face Maya. What the actual fuck?
That was really fun, you guys.
Anna, not talking to you right now. Maya, what the actual fuck?
What do you mean?
Do not, of all the times, of all the moments that you could pick to pull this attitude, this is not the right one. So, gonna ask again, what the actual fuck?
I'm gonna need just a little more detail, maybe some nouns and adjectives following that. I understand you're very upset. Do you need to...
I drop my clutch on the ground and I shove her up against the wall. When were you going to tell me that you went and told all of this to Sierra? When were you going to tell me about this? Oh, yes, we're going to try and do our best to keep Anna alive, when you were so set on dusting her yourself just a couple days ago. And why did you just make me lie to the prince to back your story? What the actual fuck?
I'm still trying to maintain a picture of casual calm while being aggressed by a 6-foot-tall she-demon. And that's fine.
Is it, though? Because we know there are two things the beast likes: eating and dominating. And you don't have that streak of Camarilla politeness in you. You don't play these games. You have been raised from your embrace that powers its own reward, and no one gets to boss you around unless they earn it. Will you roll for frenzy for me?
3 successes?
By the grace of God, whether or not he or she exists. Ivy's angry. She has a legitimate reason, by my account, to be angry. And that alone is what stops you from reaching into the darkness and putting this witch in her place. What's that facial expression like? Because Ivy, this close, this angry, you will be able to see microsecond by microsecond as Maya's thought process clicks. You can see the flash in her eyes where you realize that shove might be the last thing you get to do with your unlife. And you can see the gears turning as the La Sombra calculator works to spit out a number.
What looks like calm and placid chill on the outside is absolutely just void-like emptiness, as what looks like detached calm this close you can tell is actually truly emptiness. And for a moment you could imagine that that blackness would swallow you too. And then everything snaps back as a smile you'd be familiar with. It is the look of someone who's totally in control. It is the look you get when everything feels like it's coming to fruition. And I reach up and pat your hand. I thought you were supposed to be good at this. Are you going to tell me that you wouldn't have spoken to your daddy about Anna?
No, Maya, I did not go and tell Sable any of this. Because it's kind of on a need-to-know basis. And, telling him that I'm harboring a Malkavian/Childa of Jason Newberry in the Duchesky manner, not exactly a fact I'm really willing to share. So, no, he doesn't know.
I'm sitting on the floor where you can clearly see I don't have high heels on, just like inappropriate shoe wear, but you can't tell when I'm standing up. And I have pockets in my dress where I pull out a piece of string and I'm like, guys, you see my little caddy? Do you guys want to play a game? And I just like dangle it in front of them.
I purse my lips and remove my hand from Maya's shoulder. I need to go take a walk. Away from the two of you.
It's a really good game.
I turn around, I grab the clutch, and I walk out of the room.
We'll return to that scene in a moment. Alex, you are upstairs, and the worst possible thing that could have happened has occurred. You were going to your first day of school, and Mommy walked you to the bus, and she put you on it, and then you turned around, and she was gone, and now you're around all the new kids at kindergarten, and it's scary, and they're looking at you, but pretty snazzy outfit. Mr. Scott, do you know anything about art?
I know that it is in the eye of the beholder. I'm very aware of that.
Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your beholding skills?
Like a solid 8.25.
Okay. Put that in your pocket. Now, instead of art, imagine we're talking about women. How are your beholding skills?
From what I've been told, all women are art, and I think that I would be very gracious to behold any beautiful pieces of artistry.
Well, then I have excellent news for you on both accounts. I presume, and apologies for taking this for granted, that you're not going to just wait by the maintenance door as vampires filter in and out. It strikes me as a very Alex Scott thing that you would begin to wander. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I am extremely curious. Half the reason I got into this position so many weeks ago. I'm very excited to be places I'm not yet. And it's not that I feel I should just deserve to be there, but I don't see why I can't just walk up and say hi.
Of course. It's Elysium. You've been told it's friendly. Why not make friends?
You're right, exactly. This has been such a huge event. This is like vampire prom. And if I'm going to show up looking my best, seeing all these new people, I don't see why I can't, network a little bit, rub shoulders with people, maybe even learn a little bit about myself.
Well, there are two things about the situation that you arrive in that I don't think you would know. The first is that the piece on the wall is Picasso's The Old Guitarist. And then second, you wouldn't know that this woman's standing in front of you, and oh my God, what a spectacle of woman she is. You are not a particularly worldly man, but even then you get the impression that she wasn't born, that at some point 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, an artist obsessed with beauty found an especially nice block of marble and carved this face out of it. The features are narrow, slightly elven, not the ears, but the angles. Her hair is naturally dark, but she's dyed platinum streaks into it. She's not wearing the black dress so much as she is allowing it to drape over her. You get the impression that if you turned up the heating or the air in this building too high, that gust would be enough to carry her off to somewhere. There's something magnetic about it that draws you closer. A few feet away, you realize she's standing impossibly still. You come up beside her, turn your head. This is the part where you say, like, hey, come here often. But her face is vacant, staring somewhere that isn't here.
As I am staring in awe of this woman, I'm reminded again that I don't have breath. Because if I did, I would have to hold it in my lungs so as not to ruin this beautiful, amazing sculpture of a person. I even wonder, is it actually a sculpture that is placed in the middle of the room and I'm staring at it, holding my breath to look for a sign of, well, not life, but movement, anima. You like this one, huh? I say, nodding to the painting.
I would say it's like flipping a light switch on, but there's something more kinetic about it. Not quite the savagery of a bear trap, but a sense of something electric. The physical equivalent of slowly regaining feeling in your fingertips after they've gone numb. It's at this point you realize for the duration of your approach she hadn't blinked. And then she does, twice, turning just her head to see you. And a voice that you've only heard this voice described by bearded male authors. They use words like musical, floral, but it's real and it's coming into your ear holes. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you approach. You're new here.
I smile what I hope is my most charming smile, and I say, brand spanking new.
I wasn't aware the spankings were required. I'm Annabelle. And you are delicious.
I'm so happy that I'm dead because for once, my rosy red cheeks of embarrassment are giving me away. As I extend a hand and I say, I'm delicious up close, and I think I might even taste better than that. But you can call me Alex for now.
Oh, of course, you're right. It would be imprudent to leap directly to the tasting, wouldn't it? She takes your hand, but she doesn't shake it. She draws it up into hers the way that a jeweler might a fancy watch. You're being regarded. All she's missing is the loop against her eyes. And then it's not your hand. She turns it over one direction and the other. She brings her other hand up and you feel her fingers squeezing down one of yours into the meat of your palm. She begins to trace up your arm and begins to make a small circle around you. It must have taken a tremendous amount of work to keep this figure when you were alive.
I went to the gym, but I also appreciated the finer things of life. I appreciated good food, good company, good alcohol. So I had to work even harder at the gym. I believed I had to earn the lifestyle I wanted to keep.
Handsome and diligent.
Yeah. I was curious. Why this painting, though? You seem to be learning a lot about me, but what about you? The only thing I can tell is that your favorite color must be blue. Is this why they call it his blue period? Because I get it now. I get it.
You're adorable.
Well, that's what they tell me.
And you're very, very new. No, I'm sorry. How long ago did you come to join our little club?
Now I have to think about this, because everything Ivy and Maya told me seems to be going off like a train whistle in my head. I feel like this is potentially dangerous information to give this woman, even though I'm extremely, extremely enchanted by her. Okay, Alex, I say myself, I gotta keep it vague.
Between us, I don't know that you could lie to her if you wanted to. What do you say?
I look her in her eyes, which was definitely a mistake, and I say, in the grand scheme of things, I think I'm very recent compared to you or anyone else here. Let's just leave it at that. I'm very fresh.
Ooh, tastefully vague. That's okay. I ask because you don't seem to know what a toreador is or our affliction. You're... I don't see the sophistication that would come from a Ventru. And no offense, your diction doesn't say Tremere to me. I don't feel the cold of the void, so it couldn't be a Lasombra. And that figure, I think... Bruja. Then again, there's something animalistic, and now her hands are on your hips, and you can feel her positioning you, trying to figure out what your range of motion might be. But I don't feel anything animalistic. Bruja. No, I think Bruja. Have I guessed correctly?
My brain right now is on fire with undeserved confidence. I had it so hard as a living man to try and get women to like me. All I had to do was die. And now apparently I'm the hottest shit in town. Ah, no, Alex. You're a superhero. You've earned this. Let's just enjoy this moment. And as I have this inner monologue, I look to this beautiful, ephemeral spirit of a woman, and I say, you might be onto something there. But then again, I don't know much, but I like to be taught. Can you teach me?
I think I could teach you all kinds of things, but they're not appropriate for public. I bring it up because you know how sometimes you just can't help it and you get so angry, and that needs to go somewhere and you're just consumed by it.
Yeah, I do.
That's your curse, my little pet. And the toreador, our affliction, is beauty. And sometimes we just get lost in it. And she's staring into your eyes, getting closer and closer and closer, and her cheek brushes against yours, and you feel her lips against your ear. Have you ever been with an older woman? And this is the moment when Ivy appears, not in the scene. Ivy, you've stormed up from the maintenance tunnels that you were having your meeting in, proceeding directly through the entrance of the Art Institute. The layout will take you past this painting fairly quickly. If nothing else, your Alex is in trouble radar is certainly spiking. And you cross those big open archways that museums have. You turn your head to the right and you see Alex standing in the middle of the vortex.
I straighten myself up a little bit, brush off my dress just in case there are any wrinkles from the altercation with Maya, and start walking towards the two of them. And when I'm within a reasonable distance, because of course I'm not going to shout this, I just say, "Oh, Annabelle, you do know that he's underage, don't you?"
Alex, you're not sure. You're going to wonder. if as Annabelle turns her face, the way her lips trace across your earlobe was intentional. And then she's leaning slightly against your cheek as she turns to Ivy. Oh, that's a shame. It's okay, I'm patient. We can wait for your birthday.
Yeah, I think that would make for a very, very enchanting birthday present.
Well, we'll have to get Miss LaRue's permission first. I assume this one's yours.
I scrunch my face and try and put forth a little bit of a smile. No, Annabelle, he's not mine. I am just a concerned friend, is all.
Oh, it's nice to have someone like that keeping an eye out for you at a party. Well, don't worry. And Alex, she lays a hand on your shoulder, and it's weightless, but also you can feel it. Ivy and I go way back. I'm sure she'll be fine with it once she gets to know us. But, and now, oh, poor Alex, it melts away. You can feel the distance opening up between you, not physically. Annabelle is incapable of allowing you that. But whatever sultry spell she was working her way into, that unfortunately has passed. And the Toreador Primogen has returned to business, as it were. A concerned friend, but not a sire. I would know if you'd sought permission, and he doesn't seem your type.
No, he's not one of mine. I am looking after him as a favor.
Oh, he's new in town then.
Yes, well, depending on how the meeting with the prince goes, this may be his last night in town.
Annabelle makes a face. Oh?
Yes.
Well, I know our dear prince insists that anyone arriving in the city speaks with him regardless of when Elysium is scheduled. That means, and she turns and reaches out to tap you on the nose, our handsome little friend here can't be from out of town.
No, he's not.
Oh, Ivy wasn't kidding when she said you were illegal.
That's not exactly what I said, but you're not wrong.
You always find yourself in the most interesting kind of trouble.
Please don't remind me. I'm very aware. I wish I didn't.
Oh, well, I don't think this one's going to give you too much trouble. You notice, Alex, at this point, that despite having a conversation with Ivy, Annabelle has not broken eye contact with you. Maybe not her eyes on your eyes, but she is always looking at some part of you. And it feels a weird mix, like she's simultaneously deciding which of your muscles she appreciates most and needs to rank order them, so she's studying each little piece of you. But there's also something about it that calls to mind a butcher's chart, like if she pulled you apart into your constituent meat and carved you up for consumption.
On one hand, I finally feel objectified, and it feels good to have all the hard work in my physique, to be noticed, to be seen, to even be ripped apart and categorized. Still means you're being considered, and that's kind of nice. That's right. I work very hard on those biceps. Thank you for noticing. On the other hand, what's this feeling I'm having in the back of my head? They're negotiating, they're power playing. I don't know what it is. It's similar to when Ivy and Maya do it, but a lot less mean. So while this is happening, I think the best way for me to diffuse the situation, I'm just gonna go. I lean into Ivy, and I just whisper, "Hey, I'm going to go walk around a bit."
No, you're not. No.
Should I
Nope.
leave then?
Just no.
Should we leave?
No.
Should I leave and just let Annabelle?
No,
Okay.
just it. And I hold up a hand.
Annabelle is enjoying watching this. Not in a malevolent way. You don't get the sense that either of you are being judged. There's something genuinely endearing about Alex's not quite knowing the rules, and likewise something genuinely endearing about Ivy having to be a parental figure, and Annabelle finds all of this amusing, but not at your expense. I see. Oh, I see. Well, of course, if Miss LaRue is your advocate, you have nothing to worry about, but... And Ivy, now she actually turns to regard you for the first time. If you need someone to put in a good word for you, I'd be, of course, happy to assist. Anything for you.
That's very much appreciated, Annabelle. Thank you so, so much. As sincere as I can possibly be in this situation. If nothing else, this does put me in a very interesting position because currently Annabella is somewhat of a mentor to me, and if I can get some more one-on-one time and speed up that process by giving her Alex from time to time in whatever way she would need, with his consent, of course. All I'm going to say is this is a very interesting opportunity for me.
I'm suddenly having memories of middle school when there's someone who's not exceptionally popular but does have an Xbox. Alex, you're the Xbox.
Hey, it's okay. Halo was my jam when I was a kid.
I'm sure Annabelle would love to hear about that, and I will let that conversation continue. No doubt Ivy has her own small brand of politicking to attend to, and bored as Alex may be with that, at least Annabelle's there to look at, and if nothing else, should you try to escape, Ivy isn't going to let you go very far. On the topic of not getting very far, Maya, I can't imagine that either you or Anastasia made much progress out of the room after Ivy stormed out. What's the mood like there?
Should we follow her?
Probably not. This dress is expensive, and she's going to get blood on it.
How did I do? Did we win?
Yeah. I smile genuinely. We kind of did.
Hooray!
You're not dead, and we have some time to figure out this little mystery your dad has lent us. Would you like to look at some of the paintings?
Yes, please.
I'll turn and start escorting Anna out of the room if I can.
No one's in your way. If you're especially observant, you might feel Alexa lurking nearby but never present, just in case. There's the distinct impression of being watched.
Let them. I'll live rent-free where I can.
So then, out of the maintenance tunnels and into the museum proper, is there a particular wing that you're interested in exploring?
Well, I'm fond of Dali, but I don't know that that's appropriate for the Malkavian.
You know what I think would be really fun? If we look at all the paintings that look like the artist had to work real hard at a really boring piece of painting someone's body or what they're doing. This woman is just giving her baby a bath, but the artist had to choose to paint this baby's finger, and it probably took 80 hours. Isn't that weird?
I'm certain there is a curator in this world who specializes in very effortful paintings of totally boring things. And so you drift there, eyes on you as you travel. The ordinary kindred of Chicago, of course, don't know the details about Anastasia. In fact, that information is quite privileged. Oh, Ivy only got to learn it a few seconds ago. But new faces being what they are, there aren't many who are brave enough to go wandering across the floors of Elysium to make new friends before those friends have been explained to the court. But there are vampires in this city who have enough gravity about them. They get to set their own orbit, as it were. And you're only 2 or 3 paintings into your minor excursion before a familiar, deep, jowly chortle breaks the silence. Maya, Maya, Maya. As I live and breathe, in a matter of speaking. It's been too long.
It really has, Mr. Ballard. Now, how have you been?
Work keeps me busy, but there's always time to enjoy the finer things in life. We're doing quite well in the aftermath of the fire, and I believe the authorities have been placated so far as the incident at my facilities are concerned.
And the Diamond Yama will rebuild, I'm sure. It's not the first time any of us have dealt with adversity.
No, and it's quite lucrative. Of course, I've cut Sierra a wonderful deal on it. I'm trying to make friends among the Lasombra, as difficult as your clan makes it.
Oh, we're not difficult. We're just recalcitrant.
Whatever vocabulary you want to wrap it in, you and Mr. Ballard are on the same wavelength. Anna, you watch Maya have a small back and forth with a man who fills up the room quite literally. Horatio Ballard is, by all accounts, enormous. 350 pounds when he was alive. And what you will notice, what will reach into the not yet fully calcified vampiric brain of yours, is how odd it is to watch that much bulk move, but it's not powered by muscle. Vampires can affect human kinesiology, but Horatio Ballard doesn't have to, and in fact he's been dead long enough to where he has stopped caring a long, long time ago. It's very strange watching a man that big animate himself as if he were spry. Heavy as Mr. Ballard is, his gaze is even heavier. He does not regard you with the same hunger that Annabelle regards Alex, but there is a sense of being measured, always watched.
Hello, my name is Anna. You look like you could be, maybe I could pin you as a king?
King, I like that. Maya, who's your friend?
This is Anastasia Khan. She is a colleague of mine from out of town.
I see. Miss Khan, a pleasure to meet you. Horatio Ballard, Ballard Enterprises. And he extends the meatiest glob of hand meat you have ever seen in your entire life.
I reach out my hand to shake his, and my hand barely takes up the space where your thumb would meet the palm.
He doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he's used to it. But the handshake is businesslike, a reflex of that domineering, settling a big billion-dollar deal squeeze.
It's very nice to meet you.
A pleasure as always, and any friend of mine is a friend of mine.
Okay.
Mr. Ballard helped all of us out with a predicament involving an arsonist.
At the hospital?
No. Somewhere else.
Another one?
Yes, in fact, another one. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of creativity.
There's a bit of an epidemic of fire going around. But you don't need to worry. He's turning to Anna. Miss Lagasse here has done a wonderful job of seeing that the perpetrators have been handled. Chicago is safer for her efforts.
I think she just likes to see the whole world burn.
You're not incorrect. However, it might be worth taking out some fire insurance on any other buildings you have investments in. just in case.
You don't make it to where I am in this life or the one after without understanding how to protect your investments. And with that, he claps you on the shoulder. And I don't know, have you ever felt appraised or owned? There's something contractual about this.
I'm not thrilled with the implication, but much like anyone does when they're being hugged by a family member they absolutely detest, I will tolerate it and save that for later.
Well, don't let me keep you from enjoying the largesse of the titans of industry that they have bestowed upon this city. If you'll excuse me, though, the board does need to meet before Elysium kicks off proper. Anastasia, delightful to meet you. Keep this one close.
A quick question before you go.
Surely.
As this is my first Elysium in Chicago, anyone I need to keep an eye out for? Introduce myself, of course.
You can make your way around the Primogen, of course. I'm sure Annabelle's around here somewhere making mincemeat of a neonate. Haven't seen much of Bronwyn, but she's on the up and up if you wanted to get in on the ground floor influence-wise there.
I'll keep an eye out.
Ooh. That sentence is pointed, isn't it? Maybe not in the way that he said it, but the way that he looked at you when he did.
Good to know. I will see if I have time to say hi. Enjoy your meeting.
No doubt Sovereign's just going to waste our time with that. That's internal business. You two have a great night, and if I see you around later, please come back. Horatio Ballard departing into the museum.
I did a thing. I made you look good, and I helped you with your network.
Nope, both work. You did good, kid. I think you're going to get the hang of this, which is disappointing if you die.
Best friend points 3-0.
We'll see about that.
Further conversations, of course, to be had. Flittering and floating, as always, through the social networks of Chicago. Faces to remember. So many names. Alex and Anastasia. Whether or not you're introduced to them literally, and at this point, given that you are new and unproven, there are a few people willing to risk their reputations by getting to know you, but no doubt. Maya and Ivy pointing out the who's who of this city and spinning for you the tale of Chicago. As every Elysium does, this one will eventually turn to the grand meeting, the announcements. You can't have Elysium without a prince. And as this one was called for purpose, people will eventually file into the largest of the atriums for the announcement. No one is willing to be fashionably late. An impromptu Elysium always comes with big news. And if there's one thing every kindred, even those new and indoctrinated, know, knowing the news is power. Prince Jackson appears, immaculate tie now matched by an immaculate jacket, his eyes making a slow, deliberate circuit of the crowd. The sheriff lurks nearby, at the foot of the stage, arms folded lazily over his chest, and were you to look up, you might catch a glimpse of Joshua Crozier, ever vigilant, stalking from the level above. Through the crowd, the expectant and anticipatory murmurs dwindle into silence as the prince takes the stage. He waits a few seconds, just long enough to ensure the room has fallen entirely into obedient, respectful silence. Thank you, my fellow kindred, for once again joining me. I am forced, unfortunately, to apologize for making my summons with a dearth of notice. That's happening more and more these recent nights. But this is the nature of progress. Our great city moves ever forward towards rivaling the great courts of the old world. Every night, Chicago steals away that much more prestige, that much more glamour from the ancient hierarchies that have denied us our rightful place among their number. You have my gratitude and also that of my Primogen for the role each of you plays in ensuring the greatest of North America's Camarilla bastions continues to rise. It should come as no surprise that it is the business of Primogen that brings us together tonight. I'm sure by now news of Jason Newberry's fate has spread to even the most disinterested quarters of the city, and while it brings me no satisfaction to dispense judgment against a senior member of our court, let his fate serve as an example to those who would cast aside the most sacred of our rules. The traditions protect all of us, and none who flaunt them, especially those holding positions of power or influence, will be suffered to walk the night so long as I am your prince. It should go without saying that it is obvious Mr. Newberry's actions do not represent his clan, and our Malkavian siblings are still deserving of representation among my council. Until such a time as Mr. Newberry has served the fullness of his sentence and demonstrated a willingness to abide by the rules of our society, Bronwyn will be taking on his responsibilities in the capacity of acting Primogen for Clan Malkavian. But while the former Primogen's actions threatened each and every one of us, his malice was directed squarely at one small subset of our number. It was the will of this city that the representatives of Clan Lasombra be allowed to stand as equal partners in the Camarilla, and only by the skill and grace of a loyal coterie was that will allowed to blossom. It is obvious that we cannot rely on the great deeds of a few to ensure our Lasombra brethren are free to participate fully in our society. And to that end, having duly consulted with my Primogen, I ask that Sierra Van Burris join their number and bring her wisdom and experience to our cause. I understand many of you will find this move premature, but I assure you their voice is both necessary and valuable. The Camarilla thrives because it draws equally upon the gifts of all its members, and the addition of the Clan of Night to our ranks brings new, formidable power to our cause. Neither am I ignorant of the ways in which this choice will upset the existing balance of the council. Chicago has always been unique, a city where a prince rules with his Primogen rather than over his Primogen. And because the addition of a Lasombra chair creates the possibility for deadlock within this critical organ of government, it is my intent to add another to their number. Of the clans not yet represented among the Primogen, a new will be chosen, so the balance of power that has defined our city for centuries need not be disturbed. As to which clan will be granted this honor, there are yet a great many factors to consider, and of course, a new Primogen to consult. You have my word, the decision will be announced in 1 month's time. Until then, let us return to the normal business of the night. Please enjoy for yourself the company of your fellow kindred and the fruits of our great city, the artistic triumphs that remind us of our humanity. The crowd will take a moment to digest this new information. The very second the prince stops speaking, hushed whispers, anticipatory conversations break out in every corner of the room. I'm sure you each have your own questions, but before we go down that road, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Damien is cutting through the crowd with his gaze and gesturing towards Alex Scott. It seems the time for an audience has come. Now, the prince isn't going to wait that long. Ivy, any parting words of wisdom for your young Brujah friend?
We've been over everything that you need to know. Be honest, but not so honest. Don't lie, but don't give away everything.
Be truthful. Be smart. Think more than you speak.
Be as truthful as you need to be.
Be as truthful as I need to be. Ooh, this is going to be dangerous.
Horribly.
Yep. All right.
And with any luck, you won't come away dusted.
Yep. Okay.
I'll hesitantly reach up and put a hand on his shoulder, not patting it in any way that you might expect somebody to, just placing it, which is probably still way more than Alex would have assumed I would give him as far as comfort is concerned.
Ivy takes after her mother. Affection and encouragement has to be earned.
You're not wrong.
So with the hand, I kind of pat it back, and summoning the falsest of courages, I look to you and I wink and I smile. Don't worry, Ivy. I'll be right back.
I nod and remove my hand and then just gesture in the direction that he should head.
And just like that, Alex disappears. Hopefully for just a little while, but perhaps forever. One would hope the prince shows a bit of deference to the coterie's service, and perhaps allows their new friend to remain among the unliving. But an illegal embrace is an illegal embrace, and it wouldn't look good, after the speech he'd just given, for the prince to turn his back on the traditions. No doubt anticipation weighs heaviest on Mr. Alex Scott. Even though they don't show it, I imagine Maya and Ivy are also concerned about what might happen to their baby Bruja. I, as always, am curious to learn. Will Alex Scott live to see the day sleep and continue in the service of his coterie and his prince? That's a story for another night. You've been listening to The All Night Society, an actual play podcast brought to you by Queen's Court Games. If you enjoyed your stay, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. For more content, including exclusive art and audio, follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Queen's Court Games, or on Twitter at Queen's Court RPG.